But that was the problem. He was comfortable, and clearly nothing bothered George quite like living in safety. He made a career out of risk, and this challenge lit the fire back in his soul. So in 2010, the hacker announced his glorious return with his new goal to hack the PS3. At this stage in 2010, 7th generation video game consoles were considered appliances. The big three, Nintendo Wii, Microsoft Xbox 360 and Sony PlayStation 3, were brand names as big as Coke and Pepsi. You were almost expected to have one of the big three available in your home. But for the hardcore gaming crowd, having a piece of equipment as is wouldn't cut it. The tech inside the consoles was much more sophisticated than ever before, but the secrets within belonged to manufacturers. The machines were impressive, but they were artificially limited. Enter the home brewer, part hacker, part programmer. These people blurred the lines between PC and console gamers. They hacked the hardware to access hidden features and run pirated copies of games, or backups as they were called. They could also mod games, create background themes, and make consoles another computer essentially. But until now, the PS3 remained untouched, even in this elite community. So with the gauntlet thrown down, Hotz returned to the tools that made him infamous, his screwdriver and soldering iron. He laboured into the late night for over 5 weeks, creating a string of code 500 lines long on his PC. If this code worked, then his screen would flash 0. If it didn't, it would display 5. This was the moment. Was it all bluster, or was Hotz the real thing? He began the sequence and held his breath. The screen flashed. He waited. Seconds stretched unnaturally, and then he got his answer. The screen flashed again with the single number, 0. He had done the impossible, again. And just like before, he went online to flaunt the accomplishment. No video this time, just a single line of text. I have hacked the PS3. He called his massive code Finnegan's Wake and distributed the instructions online for others to replicate his success. Hotz exploited a program running on the PS3 called Other OS. It allowed the system to run Linux, the preferred operating system of homebrewers and computer nerds everywhere. When Hotz successfully hacked the hardware, he turned it from a single-purpose video game console into a desktop computer, allowing others like him to write their own programs. But unlike Apple, Sony didn't stay silent. They didn't praise him. They would not let some kid from New Jersey get the better of them. They issued a corrective patch to stop other hackers from exploiting the system's weakness. People were used to playing Sony games, but now Sony had created a new game, a game of cat and mouse. The homebrew community responded, and they were not happy. This patch ended their free reign over the PS3, a move that they called absolute madness. And GeoHot, at the centre of it all, became a divisive figure. This was a world he'd helped create, and so some heralded him as the messiah of that world. Others went the opposite route and wanted him stopped at all costs. This resulted in his personal information being posted online, known otherwise as doxing. Phone number, real name, address. He was now a much more public figure, whether he liked it or not. Regardless, one thing was for sure, Sony's patch wouldn't stop him from getting back into the system. After all, in his words, his whole life is a hack. But how would he do it this time? Hotz always thought of hacking as a tool of persuasion. If he could find a way to manipulate the system, he could convince it to do whatever he wanted. Last time he used that logic to create code that forced his way in. Now he had a different tactic. Why force control when he could convince the PS3 to give him control instead? In January 2011, Hotz used his decryption program on a
that don't know, I'm getting sued by Sony.
He made fun of Sony